Hi, Alan Stratton from As Wood Turns. As Easter is almost here, I'm still on my egg kick for Easter. It's the fun part of Easter. So I previously made this solid egg to go in my 3D printed little rabbit. And then last week I made this hollowed egg, which is more not hollowed across it, but on the lengthwise part of it. That was a fun task. This week, let's do more of a slip box joint egg. Again, the whole purpose of a hollow egg is to put some goodie inside, so I can put some nice surprises in there and still use my little 3D printed rabbit to show off the egg. So let's use the printed, but let's turn this hollow egg for a nice Easter surprise.
The wood for this egg is linden wood. This is from a dead branch that I cut off last summer. It is definitely dry and has not cracked. So I don't think the pith will be a problem for this piece of wood. I'm mounting an extra long piece between centers on the lathe for the initial rounding over with my bowl gouge. A little branch keeps the tool rest pretty far away from the wood until I can cut it down to size. As soon as I can, I'm moving the tool rest closer and turning up the speed. When one end is round, I can use a skew with a peeling cut to form a mounting tenon on the end. Since I'll be using my long nose jaws, I'm making the tenon a bit longer. Then flip the wood around to finish rough rounding. Since the measure for this egg will be pretty much the same as the last two eggs, I need to cut down the diameter a little more. I'm using the caliper to ensure I don't go too far. Once the desired diameter is established, I do a few wasting cuts with a gouge before returning to the skew. Then mark the critical dimensions. Remember that the ideal egg, per someone whose name I don't remember, has a length 1.29 times the diameter, while the big end forms a hemisphere. Therefore, the widest part is at 1/2 the diameter from the big end, and the overall length is 1.29 times the diameter. However, since I need a mortise and tenon joint, I'm shifting the small end marks over about 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch. I didn't measure. Then I can waste down the outside of the two end marks to form smaller tenons again. If I were doing this egg over again, I'd leave an edge to butt against the jaws a little way away from the small end. Then I could round over the small end easier and earlier. But you'll see that I have to wait on this egg. After parting off the two pieces, I saturated the end grain with CA glue to stiffen the wood that will be the mortise and tenon wood. Now I'm working on the big end of the egg. I'm quickly rounding over so that I can gauge the wall thickness later when I'm hollowing it. Then proceed to hollow with a round nose scraper. I stop several times to confirm the depth. Is there such a thing as a funnel egg? Then switch to a box scraper to cut the mortise. I sight the scraper's edge to the lathe ways to work towards a parallel-sided mortise. I confirm the parallel sides by holding a new unsharpened pencil to the edge of the mortise and sighting the pencil to the lathe bedways. With a new pencil, there's plenty of length to see any deviation. When it's good, I apply light wax to the inside and to the mortise. Now with the little end mounted to the chuck, I can start hollowing the inside. Here's where I would have preferred to shape the exterior, but my tool would hit the jaws. So I start with a spindle gouge, but with this small egg, I switch to my round nose scraper. Again, I check depth with a pencil or a finger or a tool, whatever's handy. Next, to fit a tenon to the mortise. On this small of a joint, there's very little room for error. I don't have any wood to recut a new tenon, so I proceed very carefully, removing very little before testing again. I cut the tenon with a box scraper and a skew as a scraper. Finally, after many tests, I get a tight joint without going too far. That is a success. With the joint completed, I can remount the whole egg again. Now to reduce the tenons and form the egg. Since I used the formula for critical joints, I can now go by eye. Who says a hen always lays a perfect egg? Then I'm sanding with 120 grit to remove any bumps and grooves. Then I can cut off the tenon from the small end and finish sanding up through 400 grit. Then apply shellac friction polish and buff it at high speed before parting off the egg. Since my wood collet is about the right size and I only need to sand the big end, I can reuse the same wood collet to hold the big end while I sand it and finish with shellac, blending the finish into the rest of the egg. That's it for this wood box in the shape of an egg that my 3D rabbit can hold. I'd love to do another egg with a threaded joint, but it will not be finished in time for Easter. Eggs are fun and quick unless you get really exotic. This egg is more practical than last week's egg. Still, I have a collection for my 3D rabbit. Now I need to print more bunny rabbits in different colors. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe on my website, tell your friends, and send me your comments and questions. Every week I make a new wood turning video. Please wear your full face shield. No wood egg on your face is allowed. Until next week's video, this is Alan Stratton from As Wood Turns.